Why would anyone ever commit? Whatever answer comes forth from your mind is probably correct, and it's also what appears to be the thesis statement in episode 1 of Tapoki's Original Sin. The nature of the question carries with it the moral weight of near unparalleled intensity. Its framing is extraordinarily bleak and hopeless, especially over the first episode, with each moment feeling as though it drags uncomfortably long but is also happening all at once. However, by the end of the series, I believe that question does offer something genuinely beautiful in a way that I can't remember experiencing ever before, or that I could have ever imagined. My name is Josh, I'm the host of Beyond Media, and this is a video on the darkest anime I've ever watched. There's a certain type of bleakness in this series. At first, I thought about comparing it to other stories that I consider dark, like Berserk, but as dark as Berserk is, Tapoki's Original Sin just seems different. And I think the main reason for that is it's sort of hard to nail down a hero in Tapoki's Original Sin. Guts is strong and his relentless nature gives us hope, but Shizuka is just a little girl, a child that not only doesn't deserve what's happening to her, but also cannot truly combat against the nature of her existence. And I think it's that cruel reality of her situation that just makes the narrative feel uneasy. The world she's experiencing is so fundamentally unjust. Her mother works as an escort and is therefore never around. Her father lives far away, and the only light in her life is her dog Chappie, who is able to help sustain her hope in the face of not only a devastated home life, but also relentless bullying. Letting us as the audience experience all this and gather the context of her home life really does let us settle in this hard to feel reality. One of the most devastating scenes in the story to me is when Shizuka and Tapoki are taking a walk with Chappie, and she says, quote, "The night my dad left, the stars were out like they are tonight. I wished as hard as I could on the stars. I prayed that mom and dad wouldn't get a divorce, but my wish didn't come true. That's when I decided there's no such thing as magic, no such thing as God." By the nature of their existence, children deserve to be protected, and they deserve to have hope. When we see scenes like these in other stories, there is usually an out. Like I mentioned in Berserk, no matter how bad things get, Guts is still Guts, or in ReZero, Subaru can always try again, but here it's really hard to find that hopeful leverage. Narratively, it's supposed to be Tapoki. He's what the audience is meant to trust to help resolve the narrative. He has the camera that can take them back in time, and the one that we get to see think through the situations presented in the story. But his sheer ignorance in the face of what are human horrors are arguably more devastating than if he weren't present. And I don't think any scenes really show this off more than the scene where after Shizuka returns to visit Tapoki without Chappie, completely beaten and bruised, he can't even comprehend exactly what he's looking at. Though it's painfully and frustratingly obvious to the audience that Shizuka is not in a good place, Tapoki is blissfully unaware. And when he goes to try and find her later, she's already killed herself. And he still doesn't get it. He can't initially identify that Shizuka is dead and can't comprehend why it would happen, and it's from there that we get the thesis statement I mentioned at the top of the video. Why would someone commit suicide? Something I don't want to get lost in this video is just how expertly the horror of this and other scenes like it are handled. The way Tapoki interacts with this scene is just so upsetting that I'm certain to say I'm not alone that my stomach started to churn when watching this for the first time. Tapoki's unraveling innocence is also frustrating to see happen, because deep down we know what's wrong with what's going on with Shizuka, but it's also very upsetting to see Tapoki try and fail to understand the nature of her life. The scenes where Tapoki takes her place only to get beaten by Marina is terrible, but also in a way, we know it's beneficial to Tapoki's understanding of humanity's complexity. Speaking of Marina, she's another interesting part of the story. While initially there's a lot of front-loaded hatred and anger toward her, by the end of the first episode there's a small glimpse of what exactly her home life is like. The affairs of adults once again have a devastating impact on children. Shizuka's mother, like I mentioned before, is an escort, one that Marina's father had hired on multiple occasions to the detriment of her own mother's mental health. The nature of Shizuka's mother being part of the cause for her own terrible home life and mother's manipulation and abuse is what encourages Marina to bully her in the first place. It's why our comments are vile and laced with so much disgust. Naturally, this isn't said in a way to absolve Marina of her actions, but she is just a child desperately trying to hold on to whatever she can of her own fragile reality. By seeing just a little bit of what her life is like, at least for me, I get a type of sympathy for the wicked. The responsibility for both these little girls are on their parents. Marina is a victim of abuse too. Marina wants her father back too. Marina also wishes for a thing such as magic. However, she doesn't get it, which is why there isn't a real shred of victory that comes when Tapoki kills her, breaking his camera that lets him go back in time in the process. It's from there that the tension of the story sort of changes, with Tapoki helping to hide the body and taking the place of Marina as a double to make it look like nothing happened. From there, Shizuka starts to become increasingly unhinged, having no problem using and manipulating other people to get what she wants. The fact that humans do so much good and so much evil simultaneously is something that Tapoki struggles to understand, more than most other things he struggles with. And upon Shizuka beating Tapoki, he starts to remember exactly why he was here in the first place. See, this is actually Tapoki's second time around on this planet. The last time he landed here, he was actually found by Marina and not Shizuka, spending years with her and drastically changing everything we know about the landscape of the series. Being discovered by Marina helps lead him to help her in the pursuit of being a good mother, assisting in providing joy and rescuing her from her terrible home life and abusive mother. Now, I know this is starting to feel like a rushed recap, but just trust me, this is going somewhere. I'm assuming that you've already watched the series, or at least have a basic understanding of what I'm talking about. Anyway, she ends up dating a boy named Naoki, who ends up breaking up with her once a teenage Shizuka returns and steals his heart. Because of the breakup, Marina's mom becomes violent, prompting an interaction that leaves both Marina's mom dead and Marina herself to commit suicide. Tapoki then returns back to the Happy Planet, where he uses the clock there to rewind time, erasing his memories and landing back on Earth, which is where he was found by Shizuka, prompting the beginning of the story that we follow. After Tapoki remembers this, he sacrifices his life to allow Shizuka to use the camera that rewinds time in order to make things right, eventually leading to Shizuka and Marina becoming friends with Tapoki, looking down on the children, wishing all of them to become happy adults. Assuming you've read the manga or have already watched the final episode, this ending may be confusing. I mean, the emotions hit. No one I know who has finished this left feeling nothing. In fact, pretty much everyone I've spoken to who's seen it loves this series. But the ending does feel a little odd. The series thesis and premise in Chapter 1 and Episode 1 is very clear and strong. The question Tapoki poses serves to suggest to the audience that this is what the series will be exploring, but then it sort of doesn't. We swerve into this murder plotline, then randomly we get timeline shenanigans, and by the end of the series, all the emotions are there, but it just feels a bit disconnected from the beginning. The story doesn't answer the question directly. I mean, obvious enough, right? We don't get a word-for-word answer on the situation. But even with just examining the plot and the themes of the story, it feels a bit tricky to fully understand how Tapoki's Original Sin honors that original idea. I honestly even thought that maybe I misunderstood the first chapter, so at the expense of needing to read this very emotionally taxing series again, I went through a few rereads, and on my third time, I found it. And the answer lies not exactly in the plot or the characters or the themes, but in a short stack of pancakes. A character I skimmed over in the previous section is a boy named Naoki. While I was unsuspecting of him at first, I now believe that he is the through line of the series, the metaphorical heart and linchpin for everything that's going on. He's the second born of a family that runs a clinic. His older brother is effortlessly excellent at pretty much everything he touches, at least in his little brother's eyes. He gets perfect grades, is great at sports, and most importantly, receives an endless love from their mother, something that Naoki desperately wants. This lack of affection is actually the most defining character trait for Naoki. It's what motivates him in school and allows Shizuka to so easily manipulate him to do whatever she needs him to do. However, Naoki isn't able to fully fill that void or desire for his mother's love and approval. His mother's pancakes are the ultimate embodiment of this idea. Naoki's brother got them all the time because he was an outstanding student, and if Naoki himself is able to match those grades and achievements, that he will get those pancakes as well. And eventually, it actually happens. She provides him those pancakes, the manifestation of everything he's ever desired. At first he thinks it's because his mom noticed how much burden has been on him and how he's falling apart, and as he's going to confess what's going on and that he needs help, his mother interrupts him. She says, quote, "You don't have to. You're incapable of success. The way you neglect your studies every day and score miserably on tests to get my attention, it's childish. So you can stop already. I've decided to stop trying. You can have snacks every day and I won't care about your test scores anymore. Go ahead, do as you like. Enjoy your life." And after that verbal exchange, as the paneling focuses once again on the pancakes that were just drawn with so much life and energy, they suddenly look plain and incredibly unappetizing. On my first read, I thought it was just a simple physical expression of the fact that Naoki obviously cares less about the pancakes and more for his mother's love, but I think it actually goes deeper than that. Something that this series consistently and routinely shows is what it looks like when something lacks or is misused. One of the crucial perspective switches that I think really makes this series something that is able to be analyzed is not the ability to call something what it is, but to identify what it could be. And what I believe to be the catalyst to explore this idea is the concept of love. I believe this series is showing us how the lack of love corrupts all. Think about it, children are naturally pure and should be protected, but without proper love of those who are made to protect them, they become wounded or worse. This idea or concept of either something being misused or miscared for is present even in the gadgets that Tapoki provides. The wings aren't able to carry humans, the reconciliation ribbon is designed to bring about love and understanding, but is used for destruction. The camera meant to preserve moments is used to end someone else's moments from ever even happening, and pancakes made without love simply look gross. The lack of love causes divorce, misplaced love leads to affairs, conditional love leads to emptiness, and unconvicted love leads to betrayal. And so the question I think now becomes, how do we get this love back? How do we make this metaphorical pancake sparkle? In the final chapter, after Tapoki sacrifices himself to fix the camera and Shizuka goes back in time, she finds herself once again being beaten up by Marina, who is being completely honest with her words, asking why Shizuka's mother destroyed her family. And what's interesting this time is Shizuka says that she's sorry. Marina then sees a small drawing of Tapoki on her homework and the two begin to start talking. They both start to vent their frustrations, grasping for the memories of Tapoki when they mention that all he ever did was talk their ears off, to which Shizuka repeats a phrase that Tapoki had said earlier in the story, that being, quote, talking brings happiness. Tapoki's narration then says, quote, that's right, the most important thing of all, it's what I forgot, the most dependable gadget of them all. Talking is the most dependable gadget of them all, because talking can bring about understanding, and understanding brings about love. And so I got to thinking about, is there an example where this is able to be seen within the series? And of course, there is. And once again, it's found through Naoki. In chapter 10, Naoki's brother Junya catches him looking troubled while leaving and encourages his little brother to talk to him. Naoki starts to vent all of his frustrations, talking about how he's always compared to Junya and how much better he is. He then says, quote, I have no one, I haven't made any friends, I study really hard but I can't do anything right. I've let everyone down, including mom, I'm just a disappointment to her, she's given up on me. No one cares if I live or die, no one expects anything of me, I have no one left except Shizuka. But Naoki's brother snaps him back into reality and tells him that's not true, because Naoki will always have him. Junya lets Naoki know that he is important to him because they're brothers. In a long-winded way, this conversation, talking, brings about love, and because of that, Naoki is able to do the right thing and break away from Shizuka. See, what I believe that Tapoki's Original Sin does is take all these ideas and reframes them. Every character or story element is rearranged in order to communicate this idea of love making an impact on something as small as a pancake to as large as a child's life. What I believe is happening here is the story is flipping the question. Instead of why would someone commit suicide and exploring those ideas by using the plot to analyze a potential cause and effect relationship with that idea, it instead asks, in a world like this and in situations like this, why would anyone choose to live? What on earth could possibly constitute living through this life? What grander ideas or meaning or purpose allows this existence to become something that is worthwhile and beautiful? It makes the question, why die, to why live? And the answer I believe that Tapoki provides to that question is love. Love is what makes pancakes look great. Love is what brings two brothers together to bring forward the truth. Love is what allows a bully and her victim to grow and become friends once they finally understand each other. On the flip side, lack of love means pancakes are worthless. Lack of love is what causes a child to fall neglected, and lack of love leads someone to feel isolated, alone, misunderstood, and maybe even to engage in the act of taking one's own life. And so in a roundabout way, I believe the story does answer its original question, just not in the way that we'd expect or the way we've been conditioned to. Tapoki's Original Sin is a series that is deeply convicting and beautiful if you give it enough time to sit with you. With this new perspective, I highly encourage a reread or a rewatch. While it may seem like the story trails off or feels like it loses a little bit here and there, I believe it truly is really exploring the heart of what Chapter 1 provided. At least, that's my take on the darkest anime I've ever watched. I'm certain there will be other videos that make more recappy videos or whatever, but about this series is what I wanted to talk about. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, you might like some of our others, especially this one that you can check out right here. Honestly, I don't know how to end a video like this one, except to say, I hope you find the people or the things that makes your pancakes look beautiful. And until next time, keep dreaming.